warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce ourselves. My name is Utariana Putri and my partner Alfi Imelda. In this video, we are going to discuss about motivation and language learners and motivational factors. Okay, the first material will be explained by me. Motivation and good language learners. It almost goes without saying that good language learners are motivated. Common sense and everyday experience suggest that the high achievers of this world have motivation, a word which derives from the Latin verb mover, meaning to move. Thus, simply defined, we might say that motivation concerns what moves a person to make certain choices, to engage in action, and to persist in action. Without motivation, success will be hard to come by, and the case of learning a second or foreign language is little different. Okay, the social psychological perspective. Led by the pioneering work of Canadian social psychologists Gordon and Lambert, research into motivation was for many years shaped by social psychological perspective on learner attitudes to target language, culture, and people. Gardner and Lambert argued that language learning motivation was qualitatively different from other forms of learning motivation, since language learning entails much more than acquiring a body of language and developing a set of skills. Gardner and Lambert speculate that learners' underlying attitudes to the target language, culture, and people would have a significant influence on their motivation and thus their success in learning the language. This speculation gave rise to the now classic distinction between integrative and instrumental orientations. The former reflecting a sincere and personal interest in the target language, people, and culture, and the latter its practical value and advantages. At the risk of oversimplifying the social-psychological legacy of research on language learning motivation, however, I think it's true to say that the angle of inquiry it promoted yielded few genuinely useful insight for teachers and learners. Okay, next, motivation from within. With a move toward more education-friendly and classroom-based approaches to the study of motivation, research attention since the 1990 has increasingly turned to cognitive theories of learner motivation, thus bringing language learner motivation research more in line with the cognitive revolution in mainstream motivational psychology. Cognitive theories focus on the pattern of thinking that shape motivated engagement in learning. Generally speaking, the optimal kind of motivation from within is identified as intrinsic motivation, that is doing something as an end in itself for its own self-sustaining, pleasurable rewards of enjoyment, interest, challenge, or skill and knowledge development. Intrinsic motivation is contrast with extrinsic motivation, that is doing something as a means to some favorable outcome, such as gaining a qualification, getting a job, pleasuring the teacher, and avoiding punishment. Okay, next, the social context of motivation. The growth of the social dimension of motivation is reflected in recent important volumes of papers on motivation research in education that address a range of situational factors, such as societal and cultural influence, curricular and institutional context, classroom environment, peer relations, teaching style and methods, material or task design. Okay, next, motivational self-regulation. The long path towards success is never easy and is usually best with obstacles of one kind or another. Motivation will suffer unless ways are found to regulate it. For motivation to be sustained and the vicissitudes of the learning process, it seems clear that learners need to develop certain skills and strategies to keep themselves on track. This might including setting themselves concrete short-term targets, engaging in positive self-talk, motivating themselves with incentives and self-rewards, or organizing their time effectively to cope with multiple tasks and demands. And the last, implication for the teaching or learning situation. Getting learners involved and motivated in learning is essential. For teachers and learners, however, the real challenge lies in finding ways of sustaining that motivation through the long and often arduous process of learning a language. This entails developing skills and strategies for regulating motivation. NCCOMS argues by providing positive interpersonal support and appropriately structured feedback, teachers can prompt and scaffold learners' attempt to reflect constructively on their learning experience and to redirect their thinking in more positive ways. The teacher's task here isn't so much to tell learners what they think, but to lead learners to reflect on and evaluate their own achievements and learning experience in a constructive manner. Okay, thank you. And the next material will be explained by Olvi Emelda. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.